The truth behind Assassin's Creed Shadows. This is probably going to be hilarious.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today. And we're gathering once again to talk about Ubisoft, which I know really isn't in my wheelhouse of companies I focus a lot on here on the channel. I know
It should be. Ubisoft is an amazing company. They do so many wild and stupid things. It's just non-stop entertainment. It should be.
talk about pretty much everything gaming here, but when it comes to Ubisoft, I typically just review their games and move on. You can just see a whole catalog of them on my channel, most of them not being high praise outside of games like Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown.
Well, yeah, most everything Ubisoft is not high praise. That's the reason why they're collapsing so fast.
Or Mario and Rabbids, these random experimental titles here or there from Ubisoft typically get my approval more than their AAA releases, and that's why we're at where we're at now, where we're looking at the plummeting share value for Ubisoft. And as you can see here, this is staggeringly low. It has decreased a tremendous amount over the years. It really has been a death of a thousand cuts. But there's
You gotta love it.
shares on the market, and then there is mind share. And by mind share, I mean using your brain. And by that, I mean
How about just no?
% off an annual premium subscription. At first, it just seemed like Ubisoft was invulnerable to failure despite people being tired of their formula. Games were being purchased. I look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla as the biggest head scratcher for many. I enjoyed my time with it a lot, but it was definitely regarded as the most bloated Assassin's Creed game ever, and it still managed to sell tons and tons of copies. But since then, I feel like Ubisoft has really accelerated their own downfall with like the fall of 2020, where they had Watch Dogs, they had Immortals Phoenix Rising, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla all month to month, back to back to back.
By the way, speaking about bad numbers for Ubisoft, currently the word on the block is that Star Wars Outlaws has not sold 1 million copies. Now, it's gonna get there, and it's pretty close. It's currently on like 900K or something like that. It's gonna get that 1 million. But man, it's probably not even gonna hit 2 million sales. And yeah, that sounds probably bad, but let me put it into perspective so you know how actually truly devastatingly bad that is, okay? So, Star Wars Outlaws cost $70 a pop. Let's imagine they sell 1 million copies. Okay, that is 70 million. That's a lot of money. I could take over a small country with that amount. But, there's always the but. First of all, they're not getting all of that money because they need to pay Disney for the licensing, and that means they're probably getting somewhere between from 40, most likely, to $50. Chances are it's closer to 40 than 50, but let's go with 50 just so we're super cool and good with Ubisoft. So let's say they have made 50 million from that. How much Star Wars Outlaws costs to make? Chances are most likely minimum 200 million. That's right, minimum 200 million. A game like this, considering Concord cost 400 million, there is a chance that we're going to sooner or later hear news about Star Wars Outlaws costing 350 to 400 million also. But yeah, 200 million is the lowest amount that Star Wars Outlaws would have cost. So Ubisoft has covered 1/4 of that expense. But wait, there's more to make it worse. This was one of the most extensive marketing campaigns Ubisoft has ever done in their lives. So that's most likely at a minimum like another 50 million in expenses. Most likely it's around 100 to 150 million. It's probably not going to be on the same level as, Hollywood movie where the marketing is literally just the same as the budget. So Ubisoft most likely has spent a minimum of something like, if we're being super generous, 300 million with everything with Star Wars Outlaws. And again, that's super minimum. I would not be surprised if we hear that the total cost was something like 450 million. And they have covered 50 million of that. They are so done. I love it. It's a disaster. There is no way to recover from this. And especially considering Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be the next release, and no one is buying that. No one is going to probably buy even 1 million copies of that slop. Okay, it's gonna sell 1 million copies, maybe even 2 million, but it's still gonna be completely over.
It was ridiculous. But also, the quality has fallen short with the self-proclaimed quadruple A game in Skull and Bones releasing earlier this year. Almost forgot about that one, but that wasn't good at all. Then you have Star Wars Outlaws missing the quality mark. And we're here now talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows,
Missing the quality mark, he said. Is that a joke?
which was the subject of our last video, where we got into the delay and how it was much more messy than it seemed at face value. You know, you had the post go live from Ubisoft with the note delaying the game, saying, oh yeah, look, hey everyone, this is just us trying to get the quality right. We'll see you on February 14th. But if you looked at the investors note that we highlighted in that last video, you would have seen there that Ubisoft mentioned Star Wars Outlaws underperforming, that they're not hitting the quality mark, that investors are investigating what is going on with Ubisoft, the people who are just
A lot of wokeness and 90% led by women. And that's what's happening in Ubisoft. There you go. I solved it, investors. No need to thank me. But if you will, I accept money and anything that can be turned into money.
invested in the company are trying to figure out why games are missing the quality mark there, and that Ubisoft will be doing Steam Day 1 releases. So we need more context on all of this, right? Because a lot of assumptions were thrown out there as to why
Everyone at the end of the day comes crawling back to Steam. What a company. What a strategy. Steam does nothing but exists. And everyone just comes back crawling to them. Someone tries to oppose Steam. Steam does nothing. Opposition just shoots itself in the foot. What a business strategy.
this delay was kicked in, because for those who didn't know, there was also a press event that was happening ahead of the release of Assassin's Creed Shadows, where people were going to get some hands-on time with the game. There was also going to be a Tokyo Game Show booth that then got pulled. So why so sudden? What happened here? Well, Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming has the scoop, so let's get into it, where it starts off saying Yves Guillemot pointed out in an internal memo that Star Wars Outlaws initial sales proved softer than expected, with Guillemot pointing out that critics had rated the game 76 out of 100 on Metacritic. Although I wasn't
Oh, the critics. The people who no one in the game sphere cares about anymore. The only thing a critic can do, and I doubt that they can even be properly doing that, is find a tree branch and a rope and then pretend to be a decoration. They're probably even gonna fail that. My assumption is tree branch snaps because of the bait.
given a figure on what Ubisoft anticipated Outlaws to sell within its first month. The game has just surpassed 1 million units sold at the time of writing. Its performance has seemingly caused alarm bells to ring at HQ, which not only led to the approval of the Assassin's Creed Shadows delay to Q1 2025, but to finally putting games back on Steam, a request that every...
It's hilarious because there's nothing they can do to save Assassin's Creed Shadows. It's just over.
Every Ubisoft team has been pushing for years. This goes to what we've heard a lot about with Ubisoft: management problems, where a lot of developers kind of know what fans want. Like, hey, we don't want template open worlds. They've pushed for that.
I doubt. I really doubt that anyone at Ubisoft knows what fans want.
But management has enforced that, as we knew. Same thing here. Steam. Seems like developers know, but management has been ignorant to those claims. And we'll get into why they've kind of shut down these requests from developers. It really comes to strict development timelines that Ubisoft...
By the way, Ubisoft games coming back to Steam at this point is not for making money. They don't care, because look at Star Wars Outlaws. I think it's going to be on Steam, or it's already on Steam. I'm not sure. But if Assassin's Creed Outlaws sells on Steam, that's even worse, because Steam takes a 30% cut. They need to pay a Disney licensing, which means they're taking home, at the best scenario, like 30 to 40%. And that's $21, $27, $28. That's not a lot. So it's not about money when they go back to Steam. It's about the fact that they just want to tell their investors, hey, the game's selling, don't worry, look at that, the game's selling right there, it's selling. It's just to gaslight the investors. It's not really about making money, because it's pathetic.
Seems to need to hit. But I did want to talk about the Outlaw sales being just north of 1 million, which is surprisingly low if you look at it at face value. But for me, it's like,
really.
You look at the declining value of Star Wars as a brand. You know, you look at what happened with the Acolyte, one season, one of the most hated pieces.
What do you mean the Star Wars is not in decline? If there's a good Star Wars property that comes out, it's gonna sell billions. Okay, that's how much money it's gonna make. It's gonna make billions. Look at Penguin. Penguin came out. I didn't even know it was coming out. I never heard about it. I did not hear about any of it. But now I'm looking forward to every day that the new Penguin episode comes out. And it's already surpassing every piece of shit trash like Agatha and, The Acolyte and things like that in views. It's insane. You just make a good product, it doesn't matter. People are gonna buy it. The Acolyte also. Oh man, yeah, people hate that thing, and people are not interested in it. People are more interested in listening to people make fun of it and whatnot. I did a review of every single The Acolyte episode. It was glorious. Roaring campfires in space. Flammable stone that gets lit on fire with space, space paper. It was great. The story beats, the absolute nonsensical payoffs, the random shit that happens, the teleportation around everywhere. It was beautiful. One of my favorite moments is episode 1, where Saul, aka Squid Games, is like, Osha, what is that on your arm? And she's like, oh, it's a tattoo. I got drunk and YOLO 420 made it. Don't even remember it. And he's like, ah, good. I love you, by the way. And then and that's obviously like a setup for the payoff. And then at episode 5, 6, or 7, I don't remember which one, there's the payoff because May switches with Osha, no one knows. And you're like, oh my god, this is where the tattoo is going to come into play because May doesn't have the tattoo Osha has. And no, it doesn't do anything. The tattoo is completely ignored. Saul just magically figures out that it's actually Maynard Osha. Basil, the evil fucking Sith Lord, the true tragedy of the series, is just running around randomly doing ninja things. It is insanity. The show doesn't make any logical sense at almost any point. It is just atrocious. By the way, hashtag renew the Acolyte. We need a season 4, boys. Go sign the petition. I need season 2 of the Acolyte. I will watch it, and then we can all laugh about it. It's gonna be great.
Pieces of Star Wars content ever, the most hated piece of Star Wars content ever. When you look at the fan reviews and everything like that, it just went up in flames, and they canceled after 1 season, right?
Sad.
And this isn't just a one-off. I feel like Star Wars and Disney as a whole has been having a really bad time with their service and just inconsistent quality. You get something like Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's easy to forget when you have so much mess surrounding it. But particularly with Star Wars, it's been really inconsistent. I've always defined it, as I've said in the past, as a bit of a roller coaster with quality, but it's never been this bad in my opinion. It's always been far, far better. And yeah, I think that's also reflected here in Star Wars Outlaws, where the quality of the game wasn't that high. It was a lot of what you expect from Star Wars nowadays. It's just not strong quality. It was buggy. It was messy. And it seems like they're aiming for a relaunch in November on Steam. So we'll see how that goes. But to the point here of this video, we're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. The article continues on. Why was Shadows delayed? It's a complicated question without a single answer, but it boils down to a strict development timeline, polishing and addressing the Japanese community's cultural and historical accuracy concerns. But first, let me address some of the wild rumors about Yasuke. He's not going to be removed. However, sources have...
Good. I want Ubisoft to suffer. I want them to be completely destroyed. Good. Keep Yasuke.
Said that the team has been actively addressing many of the historical and cultural concerns which started before the game's reveal following external...
Oh, that's so BS. They hired like 2 different woke idiots to consult them about Japanese things, and they just completely made shit on the fly. And inserted politics where there doesn't need to be any. And they're not gonna fix this. There's no way.
Playtests and were accelerated further following the game's initial reveal and mass feedback. This including changing some of Yasuke's story and how he's portrayed in the game, fixing architectural details, and ensuring that the game is historically grounded while fitting into the Assassin's Creed universe.
Historically grounded. Yasuke, a literal slave clown to Nobunaga, is a samurai. Historically grounded. Can't wait in the comments against for that one guy. But he was shut up and find a hobby or your balls.
Fundamentally, though, these are issues that should have been caught internally before the game's reveal, especially given Ubisoft's strict asset approval process. As for how these issues fell through the cracks, I'm told that
Strict.
historical experts were brought onto the project much later than usual for a project of this magnitude, and that miscommunication between teams and cutting corners when it came to the approval process of assets to meet deadlines were also at play. It's so interesting to watch the development of Assassin's Creed Shadows, because when it was first revealed,
Not really.
and there were historical accuracy concerns, a lot of people brushed this under the rug and went, well, Assassin's Creed is more of like a history, action, adventure series, and I've even defined it as such myself, and it's not really about the accuracy of the history there. But I always kind of thought to myself it was a little strange to use that argument, because then I think of things like in Assassin's Creed Origins, where they had this presentation mode that allowed you to explore the world and learn about the actual history of these settings in games. And no doubt that while it's like alternate history where you would have like Connor interacting with Benjamin Franklin in Assassin's Creed 3, it did inform you about these major historical figures and locations during a particular time period that required
Honorable kill. Stomp on his head.
research. And what I found very interesting here, I will say, I think the excuse is a little lame of like, well, we didn't have the history experts there. I get how that'll lead to missteps like we talked about in our last Assassin's Creed video, where you kind of overlook the broken Torii Gate completely and you just post something for sale that is completely insensitive to Japanese culture. But in the terms of like making art in game, you typically work with reference. That's
The Japanese are too white. They do not deserve pity, said Ubisoft.
how you get your best work. And when you're working with reference, you're likely doing research where certain things should just be caught naturally speaking by researching what you're going to be making in game. If there is a next time for an Assassin's Creed game, I hope they don't make this mistake again, though. The historical experts should have been there from day one. Who knows what this game would have ended up being with that in mind. I am very, very surprised to see that Ubisoft has listened so closely to the criticism that they are actually going to change parts of Yasuke's story and how he is portrayed. And I'm infinitely curious if they're going to market that at all, because a lot of people tearing down, if you will, Assassin's Creed Shadows have pointed to him.
By the way, people from Japan are saying about the layout of shit is even stupid. Because it turns out you don't actually make rice fields next to rivers because they're just gonna flood. That's a thing. Turns out that's a thing.
And his character and the inaccuracies attached to him that Ubisoft could be making adjustments on, but will they?
Peasants.
And if they are, will this lead to people going, all right, hold on, this is better, we like where it's heading? I'm curious how far Ubisoft goes with this and if they even bring any attention to it at all, because for a lot of what we read with reasons behind Assassin's Creed's delay was due to toxic positivity crowding the development environment of Ubisoft, where this was a team that kind of yes-manned each other all the way to the top.
Literally Concord, by the way.
And any criticism that they got would typically be regarded as a just toxic part of the fandom. And a lot of the criticism about sensitive subject matter was considered just toxic people who wanted nothing more than to fan the flames of controversy. But you're seeing here, they're listening and they're responding. So how loud will they be about that part is what I'm very curious to see. To be blunt, Ubisoft tries to appear culturally sensitive. This game shows, among many other things, that they are not that. Their reaction to this has been toxic positivity, labeling those who are rightly criticizing the game, saying, oh, well, you know what? Look, they're just a toxic subset of gamers, thinking that the reaction is extreme. Why do they
The biggest subset of gamers, in fact. Toxic, misogynist, racist, woman hater, man hater, deplorable, everything, boys. And I'm proud. 10 out of 10.
think the reaction is extreme? It's because they refuse to realize that they are one of the many companies at the center of the problem of putting forward content in games, pretending to be culturally sensitive to all different demographics across the globe, when the reality is they are not. And as I said in our last video, people see through that. So it's very easy to cast aside that criticism.
I'm sorry, did she or he? I'm still, by the way, no one is even commenting. What the hell is this twink supposed to be? A man or a woman? I am so not sure.
Go, oh, they're being extreme, they're grifting, etc., etc.
Ah, the good old, this is a great one, watch.
Oh, they're being extreme.
Everything snowed in except the helmet because fuck snow.
They're grifting, etc., etc. Grifters exist on both sides. There are people who are hype grifters who just get all that positivity going and just cash in on the hype. But the reality is you don't hear much about that because
By the way, you know what I love about Assassin's Creed? The fact that the takedowns, stealth takedowns, are not even a single hit instant kill. They are like, aha, first I'm gonna stab you in your dick, then I'm gonna stab you in the ass, and then I'm gonna slit your throat. Is the guy gonna yell at that point? Well, if someone stabbed me in the balls, I would yell a lot. But no one does this here. They're like, someone cuts their leg. Someone cut my leg. Should I say something? No, let's see where this goes. It's so bad.
guess who benefits from that? It's the companies. It's only about the people who push back against them. That's when it's negative. And I think Ubisoft clearly needs to do a better job of listening to criticism. That much we've learned from this entire launch cycle with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Now, continuing on, there's much more here. They say, as for the game's polish and issues with bugs, it's pretty self-explanatory.
By the way, the polish is so bad here. Look at this again. Look.
This entire launch cycle with Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Stabs through the thing with the hand, blood appears, and it's pixelated.
Shadows.
Well, it's not pixelated, it's just bad. I don't know even if it was blood. Maybe it's just the stab through. It's just so bad. It's just so unbelievably bad.
Continuing on, there's much more here. They say, as for the game's polish and issues with bugs, it's pretty self-explanatory. The game is currently not at the stage it needs to be for release, and I'm told that there have been some tweaks to the gameplay mechanics and elements that are going to take time to incorporate. While some of these issues were highlighted in recent playtests and mock reviews, these are end-of-development issues that will take a little bit longer. So it doesn't seem like there is a major alarm bell ringing. That's what I first thought when I saw that the press previews were canceled. I was like, oh, they found a bug, like a really bad bug that just made them hit the brakes. But it seems like this has been a cascading series of events, right? You have Star Wars Outlaws not doing that well. You have the realization that you do need to listen to.
They're literally just, I think, putting it back to Black History Month because they think that's going to make a difference. Spoiler alert, no, it won't.
Criticism that's being laid at the feet of your company and do something about it, because again, you go to that share price like it speaks for itself. Like someone's gonna come in and buy out the company, and they could even pay a premium on those shares and still get Ubisoft and all.
They have to pay a premium if they buy the company. Have to pay a premium
Of its IP for a song if they wanted to. You look at what Xbox paid for Activision Blizzard. They paid a premium on those shares. They overpaid for those shares. So yeah, someone could absolutely nab up Ubisoft for a pretty cheap price. No doubt the sharks are already swimming. I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox is in contact, Tencent's in contact, and I think that's the end result. I do think pass or fail with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I think this company gets sold off, and I don't think it's going to go to a great place. I think it's going to end up in a place like Tencent that would just be.
Well, Tencent, why the fuck would Tencent buy Ubisoft? Tencent acquires large shares of a company that's doing good and typically doesn't even interfere. Why would Tencent buy Ubisoft?
I don't know how else to word this other than a very Ubisoft way to go out. Like, hey, all these IP you care about, they're over here with Tencent now. So continuing on here as this article wraps up, they say, of course, there are not new issues for the team. 7 developers working hard on the project said that they have been pushing for a delay for some time, and their situation had even been heard at other studios in the company. Ultimately, though, the delay comes down to a strict development timeline and the need to...
Oh, no one cares. They're just lying. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays Assassin's Creed Shadows, the Black God of Japan, and the Twink Boy. 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye.